This episode is about the number 10 team on the Juggernaut Index, the San Francisco 49ers. The lingering worry about this team, at least from a fantasy perspective, is that San Francisco head coach Mike Singletary might be stuck in another era. It's possible that he lives within a bubble in which it's always 1983. He's driving around in his Dodge Aries, listening to Golden Earring, and thinking about how his football team can dominate time of possession and win games while scoring 12 points. That's my fear. Perhaps it's baseless, but there it is. If that's how the Niners plan to approach the 2010 season, then kicker Joe Nedney is the only guy you'll want to own. It's tough to imagine this team not having a successful season in non-fantasy terms, of course, because the division appears to be a wasteland. San Francisco is the one franchise in the NFC West that cannot be described as either rebuilding or appallingly bad. We never really know in the NFL, though. You hate to write off an entire division, but the other three teams in the West rank 16th, 27th, and 28th in this year's Juggernaut Index, so clearly our expectations are very, very low. The Niners' schedule outside the division seems friendly too, with games against Kansas City, Oakland, Denver, Carolina, and Tampa Bay. Looking ahead, it's easy to see this team's path to 10 wins and a playoff berth. But again, we're not here to talk projected wins or playoff odds. Those things aren't generally relevant to fantasy owners. In fact, we'd much rather invest in a 5-win team that finds itself in weekly shootouts, plays no defense, and ultimately picks near the top of the draft. San Francisco does not appear to be such a team, but that doesn't mean this group can't help us. For starters, the Niners offer a running back who ranks 6th overall, and who will be a first round pick in absolutely every fantasy draft. Frank Gore is a serious talent, coming off a 13 touchdown season. Last year, with run friendly coordinator Jimmy Ray directing the offense and fullback Morin Norris clearing debris, Gore averaged 4.9 yards per carry, his best per carry production since his breakout season in 2006. Injuries have always been part of the equation with Gore. He's only played a full 16-game schedule once in his 5-year career, but he's a versatile back, invariably useful in PPR leagues, and no one below him on the depth chart threatens his carries. Draft him with confidence. Glenn Coffey is out of the picture due to early retirement, and Brian Westbrook is basically a one-year experiment in his age 31 season. Rookie 6th-rounder Anthony Dixon is potentially an interesting handcuff, although Westbrook's signing is an obvious issue. Dixon is a big back, 6'1", 235, who filled the stat sheet in the Niners preseason opener, 21 rushes for 103 yards and a touchdown versus Indianapolis. And he has at least one awesome suit in his wardrobe. But still, Gore is the centerpiece here. Everyone else is just decoration. This team made a massive investment in the offensive line on draft day, selecting tackle Anthony Davis and guard Mike Wipati in round 1. The Niners are clearly ready to run. Whether or not they're ready to pass is an issue that's still open to debate. If they're not, they can't really blame the receiver corps. This is a talented unit. Tight end Vernon Davis had a monstrous breakout campaign in 2009, catching 78 passes for 965 yards and 13 touchdowns. Every week, it felt like he and quarterback Alex Smith connected on a seam route for a long score, or two, or three. No one has ever questioned Davis's raw skills, just his focus, and Coach Singletary quickly resolved that problem. Davis would be a top 3 fantasy tight end on everyone's draft board if this strain of Jermichael Finley fever wasn't so powerful. Wide receiver Michael Crabtree is an exceptional talent, too. He never managed to have a huge game as a rookie, but he was consistently productive despite missing training camp and the first 5 weeks of the season due to a contract dispute. It's remarkable that any first-year player could step into an offense at mid-season and be so useful so quickly. Crabtree actually led all NFL rookies in receiving yards per game, even though he lacked preparation alongside teammates. Again, remarkable. It's tough to imagine him taking a step back in year 2, now that he's actually experienced an NFL camp and preseason. After Davis and Crabtree are drafted in the early rounds, their respective ADPs are 56.2 and 44.1. There's not so much to choose from among the Niners receivers. It's just a parade of failed sleepers. Josh Morgan, Ted Ginn Jr., Jason Hill, and another Bay Area Ziggler, Dominique, not Brad. This year, Ginn will find himself in a supporting role where he can't inflict a great deal of damage via drops. He won't see another 78 targets like he did in Miami. Morgan will start for San Francisco, but realistically, he's plan D if in this offense when everyone is healthy. Alex Smith returns at quarterback for the Niners, and this is really where things get complicated. Hopefully, we can all agree that Smith lacks the ideal skill set. His arm isn't the best, nor is his recognition. Sure, Smith's NFL backstory is impressive, and Michael Silver tells it well. But in fantasy, we're drafting stats, not bios. This is a flawed quarterback. Nonetheless, he does have a few terrific weapons at his disposal, and there's finally some continuity in the offense. Last year, Smith took over in Week 7, and the Niners played to his strengths and limitations, relying heavily on the spread shotgun to the dismay of Gore owners. Smith ultimately delivered 6 multi-touchdown games, finishing with more touchdowns than interceptions, 18 to 12, for the first time in his NFL career. This season, you should expect San Francisco to get back to more traditional sets, emphasizing the power running game. Smith isn't likely to lead anyone to a fantasy title, but he also is a no-risk pick. His mock draft central ADP of 269.5, which places him deep in backup territory. We're delighted to report that David Carr is Smith's understudy. If this team can just sign Tim Couch, they'll have a complete set. The Niners' defense looks awfully good, as we mentioned above. The schedule appears to be friendly. This unit certainly deserves to be among the first 5 off the board in standard drafts. Patrick Willis will be the top defensive player in most IDP formats, and you'll also want to target DB Deshaun Goldson, defensive end Justin Smith, and defensive back Michael Lewis. And keep an eye on rookie defensive back Taylor Mays. And if Singletary decides to become a player coach, make the ad. Okay, prospectors, give us the nuggets in the comments. By the way, sorry that it's kind of dark. The light above me isn't working. Anyway, comment time.